In year 2021, certain amendments have been made in Schedule 3. So we will now discuss those amendments. So while writing the answer in the exam related to Schedule 3, it has to be answered keeping in mind these amendments also. So what are the amendments which are applicable to your syllabus? Keep the amendment in front of you. The amendment says Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. Who has amended it? MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and it is applicable for financial year starting on or after 1st April 2021. So it has become applicable. For your information, Schedule 3 has 3 divisions. You have to only follow Division 1 for your syllabus. Division 1 is for those companies which will have to comply with the requirement of Companies Accounting Standard Rule 2006. That is what you follow. This is your syllabus, Division 1. Division 2 is for those companies which have to follow companies Indian accounting standard. That means those companies which follow Ind AS 2015 rules, not applicable for inter, but applicable for final student. Applicable for final student. And then there is a division 3 which is applicable to non-banking financial companies. And these NBFCs have to follow Companies Indian Accounting Standard Rule 2015. So our focus will be on Division 1. Most of the amendments in Division 1 and Division 2 are common. That means these amendments are applicable to companies following accounting standard or companies following Indian accounting standard, Ind AS. So first we'll discuss what are the amendments in Division 1 Indian GAAP relating to balance sheet item. So under the old Schedule 3, there was a requirement of rounding off. The requirement of rounding off said company whose turnover is less than 100 crore may round off to nearest 100,000 lakhs or million. Companies whose turnover is more than 100 crore will round off in nearest, may round off in nearest lakhs, million or crore. So what is the amendment? This word may is substituted with shall. So earlier it was like a choice given to you. Now the companies have to round off the figure appearing in financial statement. Earlier it was optional, but once selected it should apply consistently. So that is a very small amendment. It won't affect your answer as such. However, for intermediate student, earlier Schedule 3, Division 1, in the heading non-current asset, property, plant and equipment, there was a line here called property, plant and equipment. Sorry, there was a line called fixed asset. That fixed asset will be replaced by PPE. Fixed asset will be replaced by PPE, and in place of tangible asset also, we will have now property, plant and equipment. So wherever tangible asset or fixed asset was written, wherever fixed asset or tangible asset was written, now we will write PPE. Okay. Again a small name in the change in the name, because PPE is very clear. AS10 also uses the term PPE. Then additional disclosure requirement in the notes, first we'll say balance sheet item, additional disclosure requirement. Whatever you have learned in schedule 3 before this is applicable, only some extra disclosures have been given for better understanding of the financial statement. Outsiders are interested in knowing more and more about the company. So this amendment is to provide more information to the users to take a more informed and timely decision. This will also put pressure on the management of the company to do the business properly, because then the shareholder will ask them question based on the information given in the financial statement. Okay. So share capital, shareholder of promoters at the end of the year. This additional disclosure requirement is shareholder of promoters at the end of the year. This you have to give in tabular format. Tabular format means you will prepare a table and the following disclosures will be given: name of the promoter, number of shares of each class of share, then percentage of total share, separately for each class of share, and percentage of change during the year, that is if the promoter's shareholding pattern has changed. Say for example, Mukesh Ambani is holding shares in Reliance Industries. Mukesh Ambani, number of shares held 5 crore, percentage to total capital 45%. Then if there is any change, let us say it has become 49% now. So 4% change plus, that is what they have to disclose. That is what they have to disclose. That is what they have to disclose. Is it right now? So now we'll come to next point, disclosure relating to short-term borrowing. Additional disclosure relating to short-term borrowing. So additional disclosure under notes, under the head short-term borrowing will be current maturity of long-term borrowing will be disclosed separately. So this is a small change which will affect our answer. Suppose there is a long-term borrowing, 10 lakh you have to pay within 12 months and 40 lakh you have to pay after 12 months. That portion of long-term borrowing which is payable within 12 months will be shown in short-term borrowing. Under the head short-term borrowing, we will write current maturity of long-term borrowing. So what is the amendment here? Please keep in mind the amendment is, earlier it was shown in other current liability. Earlier shown in other current liability. Now it will be shown as short-term borrowing. Then another change is aging schedule of trade payable. What is trade payable? Basically your creditor to whom you have to make payment. In schedule 3 which you have learned so far, there was no aging schedule for trade payable, but now there is aging schedule for trade payable also. And how will you present the aging schedule for trade payable? You will divide the total amount of money due to trade payable less than 1 year, less than 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, more than 3 years total. This will help us to understand that what is the maturity of this creditor. Too old creditor means there is some problem here. These are problematic. Shareholder would be interested in knowing why you are not paying to this creditor. Are these genuine creditor or it is fake creditor, book entry creditor, disputed creditor? So this old outstanding will throw light on disputed creditor, disputed creditor, unreconciled creditors, unreconciled creditors. And then the shareholder will ask question to the management. Okay, so let us come to next point. This will be further divided into MSME. What is the full form of MSME? Anyone? Full form? Come on. Full form of MSME. Anybody? Full form of MSME. Micro, small and medium enterprise. Micro, small, medium enterprise. Divide your creditor into following categories. How much amount is payable to very small creditor? Others. Then out of this, how much is disputed dues to MSME and how much is disputed dues to others? How much is disputed dues to MSME? How much is disputed due to others? The purpose of this is to highlight how the company is paying to its trade payable, outstanding dues, which are more than 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, would highlight that there is some problem with the company's treatment with respect to trade payable. Disputed dues will also highlight that there are some trade payable with which company has dispute. This will affect the goodwill and reputation of the company. These disclosures have to be given from the due date. The due date is over and still you have not paid, that disclosure is required. If there is no due date for payment, then the date of transaction will be treated as due date. Unbilled dues, that means for which bill has not been received, unbilled dues will be disclosed separately. Unbilled dues will be disclosed separately. Then under the head other current liability, just now you have seen current maturity of long term debt is omitted. It is transferred to short term borrowing. It is transferred to short term borrowing. When you will solve the problem, you will write current maturity of long term debt under the head short term borrowing. Next is the amendment in presentation of property, plant and equipment. Amendment in PPE is, suppose you have done revaluation. Suppose you have done revaluation and if the revaluation is 10% or more, in aggregate of the net carrying amount of each property, plant and equipment. Suppose the opening balance is 100, revalued amount is 110 or above. So it is 10% or more. Then it will be disclosed separately. Then it will be disclosed separately. Is it right? Shall be disclosed separately. If you have revalued PPE and the amount of revaluation is 10% or more, either on the upward side or downward side, then it will be disclosed separately. So suppose this is PP, revaluation is 10% or more. Security deposit. Security deposit will be now not shown in other long-term loans and advances. Security deposit will be shown in other non-current asset. Security deposit will be shown in other non-current asset. So you will get trial balance after 1/4/2021. Companies are required to disclose security deposit under other non-current asset. So only what has changed, their position has changed. Earlier it was long-term loans, now it is other non-current asset. Companies have to now disclose how the borrowing is utilized. Oh my God. So lot of pressure on the company now. Where the company has not used the borrowing from the bank and financial institution for specific purpose for which it has taken at the balance sheet date. So loan is taken for some purpose but not used for that purpose. Oh, then disclose. They disclose the details where they have been used. So loan may be taken for construction of building, but the money was not used for this purpose. It was used for some other purpose only. Company will have to give disclosure. Now this will put lot of pressure on the company's management that they should not misuse the borrowing. If they have borrowed money for certain purpose, they should use the money for that purpose only. Otherwise, you have to give disclosure. Bank will ask you question. Shareholder will ask you question. There is an important change in trade receivable also. Under the Schedule 3 before amendment, we have to only divide into two categories, more than 6 months and others. But now after the amendment in Schedule 3, the aging schedule of trade receivable will have following bifurcations. From the date they have become due, from the date they have become due, you have to disclose outstanding for less than 6 months, which was already there. But you have to also disclose how many debtors are outstanding for more than 6 months up to 1 year, more than 1 year up to 2 year, more than 2 year up to 3 year, more than 3 years. This will be further divided into undisputed trade receivable, considered good, undisputed trade receivable, considered doubtful, then disputed trade, these are disputed ones, considered good, and these are disputed trade receivable, considered doubtful. So you can see the company has to give now lot of disclosure about their debtors, dividing them into different time frame as well as doubtful, good, disputed, undisputed. Okay. Now, what is the objective of giving such disclosure? To understand the risk. Understand the risk. If company has lot of debtors in this heading, more than 3 years old, the risk is that they may not pay. So company will have to take more efforts to recover them. It may also indicate that there are some fake debtors, not genuine debtors. They may have just passed some book entry and created debtors in the books of account. Money is blocked. Shareholder will get to know so much funds are blocked in debtor which are outstanding for 2 years or 3 years or more than 3 years. So they will put pressure on the management to recover them, right? So this is trade receivable. If there is no due date mentioned in the problem, date of transaction itself is the due date. If due date is mentioned in the problem, then you will count from the date on which it is due. So some companies give you 3 months credit. Due date will be counted after 3 months are over. Some companies don't give you credit. Then due date will be counted from the date of transaction. Unbilled dues will be separately disclosed. Unbilled dues will be separately disclosed. That is, billing is not done, amount is due. That also disclosed separately. Now, another important disclosure requirement is title deeds of immovable property. Immovable property means building, land and building together. They are immovable property. Title deed means ownership. The legal document containing the name of the owner is title deed. If the company has immovable property, but the title deed is not held in the name of the company, oh my God, title deed is not held in the name of the company. This is a risk. Company owns immovable property, but title deed is not in the name of the company. So what this company will have to do? Details of all immovable property. Now there is a problem. You have to give details of all such immovable property whose title deeds are not in the name of the company. This is other than lease, because in case of lease, company is not the owner. If the same is held jointly with others, if the same is held jointly with others, details to the extent of company's share will be disclosed. In case if you are going to hold an immovable property jointly with other party, the name of that details of that to the extent of company's share will be disclosed. Now, you student will ask, am I supposed to remember all this? Of course, you are supposed to remember. You are the student. Okay, so you are supposed to remember. So, what are the question in the exam will be? What are the disclosure requirement of Schedule 3 with respect to title deeds of immovable property not held in the name of the company? So then you have to disclose which are such items: property, plant, equipment, investment property, property, plant, equipment retired from active use and held for disposal. These are the items we will show in balance sheet. Description of the property you have to give: land, building, land and building. What is the gross carrying amount in the balance sheet? Title deed is held in the name of which party? Name of the party you have to disclose here. Whether title deed holder. Sometime company may hold the title deed in the name of promoter of the company, or director of the company, or relative of the promoter or director, or employee of the promoter or director. So this party in whose name the title deed is held, who is this party? Is he promoter? Is he director? Is he relative of promoter or director? Or is he employee of the promoter or director? That you have to disclose. Then you have to disclose property held since which date, date from which such immovable property is held, and the last but not the least, reason for not being held by the company in its own name. Also indicate if there is any dispute in that immovable property. So these are the disclosure requirement. Relative will be defined in Companies Act 2013, and promoter will be also defined as per Companies Act 2013. In case if you have revalued PPE, in case if you have revalued PPE, now the requirement of disclosure is whether the revaluation was done by a registered valuer, whether the revaluation was done by a registered valuer. Who is a registered valuer? Registered valuer is the person defined under Rule 2 of the Company's Registered Valuer and Valuation Rule 2017. If the company has revalued PPE, one amendment was if the revaluation results into 10% or more change, disclose. Second disclosure is whether any registered valuer have done the revaluation. Then disclosure about loans, advances to directors, KMP. Yes, please answer what is KMP? What is KMP? Anybody wants to answer KMP? KMP means key management personnel. Key management personnel. You are right. One person has answered. Thakur, you are right. So, if company has given loan to either director, KMP or related parties, you are a shareholder. Suppose this is the shareholder. The shareholder has given money to company. And what the company is doing, the company is giving that money to director, to KMP, to related party. Will you not feel bad about it? That you have given money to the company for business and this company is giving that money to the relative, to the directors, to the promoters, then give disclosure. Give disclosure. When you give disclosure, then the users, shareholders, lenders, they will ask question from the management. In case loans or advances in the nature of loan, advance means it looks like advance for goods or service, but actually it is in the nature of loan, are granted to promoter, KMP, director, related party, either severally, separately, or jointly with any other person, that are repayable on demand. Repayable on demand means any time they can be asked for and without specifying any terms or period of repayment. So loan is given, period is not defined. Whether the party will pay after 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. Then this amendment in Schedule 3 says, if you have given such loans which are repayable on demand and where the time is not specified, give following disclosure. Who is that borrower? Whether he is promoter, director, KMP or related party. All these terms are defined in Companies Act. What is the amount of loan or advance outstanding? So you will say 10 crore rupees loan is outstanding. And then what is the percentage of the total loans and advances? Suppose total loans and advance of the company is 100 crore. 10 crore is given to such related parties only or KMP, so you have to disclose that the amount of loan given to promoter, KMP or relative is 10% of the total loans and advances. Now next is additional regulatory information. Some more disclosures have to be given. So as a student, now your task has also increased. If given in the question, you also will have to give such disclosures. Capital work in progress and intangible assets. What do you mean by capital work in progress? It means those PPE items which are under construction or development, not ready, not yet fully ready. Like suppose for example a building is under construction or any factory is under construction, it is capital work in progress. It will become a property plant equipment on completion. Similarly, some intangible asset may be under development. You are developing some technology, software, vaccine, but sometimes companies take a very long period to complete. Funds gets blocked, liquidity crisis is there, and the risk is that if you do not complete, you will not start getting revenue out of it. So therefore now you have to give certain disclosures related to such capital work in progress or intangible asset which are under development. So this will give an insight into whether company is completing its projects in time or not. So this is basically to check whether we are having delay in completion of the projects or not. This was not there in the Companies Act Schedule 3 earlier, but now the aging schedule of capital WIP has to be given. Projects which are in progress, undergoing projects, and the projects which have been suspended. Oh, this is dangerous. You have started the work, but you have suspended it for some reason. Maybe for pandemic, maybe you don't have money, maybe there is dispute. You have to divide that time wise less than 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, more than 3 year. So you have started constructing some capital asset and it is more than 2 years, it is more than 3 year. Give disclosure. And then it should tally with the capital WIP shown in the balance sheet. The idea is to understand where are your funds blocked, how much funds is blocked, what management is doing to complete such project. This will really improve the disclosure requirement and the shareholders can take more informed decision. Now next is some more disclosure for CWIP, an intangible asset whose completion is overdue. They have a deadline to complete, that this building should be constructed in 18 months, but it is now overdue, it has not been done. So projects where there is delay, our money gets blocked, or sometime it exceeds the cost related to original plan. CWIP completion schedule mandatory, project where activity is suspended to be given separately. If the activity is suspended, you have to give disclosure project wise also. Give disclosure project wise also where the activity has been suspended, and also divide in the time when are you expecting to complete them. Are you expecting to complete them in year 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3 or more than 3? This is very, very useful for shareholders or users of the financial statement to understand about the performance, the liquidity, the risk of a company. Disclosure related to Benami properties. Benami property means the property is not in the name of the company. These are the ways to park your black money. So you may have some property asset, but you will not keep in your name. You will keep in the name of some distant relative, so that income tax officer don't catch you. If company is doing it, this is wrong, because in case of company, ownership and management is separate. So shareholders should get information about Benami property. Benami, not in the name of company. And disclosure of any proceeding initiated or pending against the company for holding any Benami property under the Benami Transaction Prohibition Act. Oh, in India there is a law which is called Benami Transaction Prohibition Act 1988. If any legal proceedings have started against the company, then company will have to disclose detail of such property, including year of acquisition, amount. Then you have to disclose the beneficiary who are benefiting from such Benami property. Then whether it is appearing in the balance sheet or not. Whether it is appearing in the balance sheet or not. If the property is not appearing in the balance sheet, then you have to disclose that fact. Whether any proceeding against the company under this law as an abettor to the transaction or as the transferor, then the detail should be provided. So if the company is also a party to such transaction, the company is a party to the transaction, then company will have to give disclosure. Oh my God. It means the company has to accept in public that we are involved in such Benami transaction. This will bring bad reputation. This will result into loss of goodwill for the company. Management really will have to hide their face if they are involved in such transaction. You have to also disclose whether any legal proceedings are against the company, what is the status of the case, and what is the view of the company. Question from this part: what are the details relating to Benami property held should be disclosed by the company as per Schedule 3 amendment? Now next is disclosure related to enhanced disclosure for borrowing from banks or financial institution on the basis of security of current asset. So company will have to give additional disclosure if they have borrowed money from the bank by giving current asset as security. Company has taken loan from bank by giving current asset as security. What are the disclosure requirement? So where quarterly returns or statement of current assets are filed by the company with banks or financial institution. Company has taken loan from bank. Company has to file quarterly, say example stock statement. If you take loan from the bank will require you to prepare stock statement. Some banks require you to prepare debtor statement. Now the company has to reply in the notes to account, disclose in the notes to account whether the stock statement, debtor statement, or any such statement which is filed with the bank, does it tally with the balance sheet figure? For bank, you may disclose 100 crore rupees stock. In balance sheet, 105 crore is appearing. If there is a difference, you have to give a summary of reconciliation and reason for discrepancies, if any, to be adequately disclosed. So now the company's task has further increased. First, they have to give stock statement to the bank. Then calculate the value of stock for balance sheet purpose. If there is a difference, prepare reconciliation. This is very important now, where a company is declared willful defaulter. Willful. Willful means knowingly. Those who default knowingly, like for example, one Mr. Vijay what? Malya. That is, I have read in the newspaper. He is declared as a willful defaulter. Kingfisher Airlines Limited, willful defaulter. So, where the company is declared a willful defaulter by a bank, financial institution, the bank has declared you that you are purposefully, willingly not paying the amount, then such company will have to give disclosure. What are the disclosures you have to give? You have to give disclosure in your own balance sheet notes. You have to say, I am a defaulter. Okay. I am a defaulter. Please come and invest in my company. I am a defaulter. I am a defaulter. Then you have to disclose the date when the bank or financial institution have declared you a willful defaulter. Then what is your default? Details of default. How much amount is not paid by you? Nature of default. What is the purpose of bringing such amendment? It will put lot of pressure on management. It will put lot of pressure on management, because if the company defaults in payment of loan interest, it will get publicly disclosed. Then relationship with struck off companies. Another disclosure requirement added in Schedule 3 amendment is, what is your relationship with those companies whose names are struck off from the list of companies registered in India. You may have learnt in your corporate law, in India there were approximately 21 lakhs registered companies, but many of them were not functioning. So what the government has done, approximately 7 lakh companies, their name has been struck off by the registrar of companies. The government says, if you don't have to do business, then why are you registered? So they have removed their names, but then you have some transaction outstanding with that company. Is it right? So in case if you have any relationship with a company whose name has been struck off by the government, you have to give a disclosure. What is the disclosure? Name of the company, then what kind of transaction you have entered into with that company. What kind of transaction you have entered into with that company. Your transaction could be an investment, the other company may be your debtor or creditor, or you may be holding shares of that struck off company, or you may have any other outstanding balance. So what does indicate? If suppose you have to receive 200 crore rupees from a company, 50 crore other outstanding, add that company's name has been struck off, it is so huge risk to your company now. So therefore the government now wants that you must make disclosure, and here write down the relationship with the struck off company, if any, to be disclosed. So you can just mention whether it is your associate company, whether it is joint venture, whether it is subsidiary, etc. This will really help users of financial statement to understand risk and reward. Next, few miscellaneous disclosure. Registration of charges. Registration of charges you will study in companies law, or satisfaction with registrar of companies. So what is the amendment here? Where any charges or satisfaction yet to be registered, with the registrar of the company beyond the statutory period, you should have registered your charge. You have not done it. Give details and reason. Not very important, just one line. Compliance with number of layers of companies. This is very simple for you. As per Companies Act 2013, now one parent company, this is parent company, this can have maximum 2 layers of subsidiary. This is layer 1, subsidiary of a subsidiary is layer 2. Companies Act says now you cannot have more than 2 layers of subsidiaries. But suppose there is a layer 3 also. One company has 3 layers. Then such company which has more than 2 layers will have to give disclosures. So where companies are not complying with the number of layers prescribed, then you have to give the name of that company, the identification number, company identification number of companies beyond the specified layers, and the relationship or extent of holding of the company in such downstream companies shall be disclosed. So these disclosures will be required: name of the company, company's registration number, what is the relationship, what is the extent of holding. Okay. Now one very, very important change which has happened in Schedule 3 for the first time, you will have to disclose certain ratios. So how many ratios you have to disclose? Total 11 ratios you have to disclose. So maybe in your exam they will ask you a question, name the ratios that needs to be disclosed as per Schedule 3. Name the ratios that needs to be disclosed as per Schedule 3. So these are current ratio. All this you will study in financial management subject. All these ratios. Ratios help us to understand the profitability, liquidity, risk better. Debt equity, debt service coverage ratio. Today don't ask me what are these ratios. That will be explained in FM ratio analysis chapter. Trade receivable turnover ratio, trade payable turnover ratio, net capital turnover ratio, net profit ratio, return on capital employed ratio, and return on investment. So these ratios will be useful for investors, because many investors may not be competent or may not have knowledge to calculate these ratios. Now it will be ready-made available to them. Plus one more disclosure. If there is a variation of 25% or more compared to previous year, so if there is a change by more than 25%, then give reason for that. Next point is compliance with approved scheme of arrangement. Scheme of arrangement means amalgamation, merger, etc. Not very important for you right now. This paragraph is not important. Where any scheme of arrangement has been approved by the competent authority under section 230 to 237, the company shall disclose that the effect of such scheme of arrangement have been accounted for in the books of account of the company in accordance with the scheme. So just have to disclose that company has accounted the effect as per the scheme in accordance with standard. If there is any deviation in this regard, then it will be explained. Next paragraph is utilization of borrowed funds and share premium. So now under the Schedule 3 amendment, the company has to give disclosure about utilization of borrowed fund and share premium. So what are the disclosure requirement? In case the company has advanced or loan or invested funds, so either company has given as advance or loan or as investment, either borrowed funds or share premium or any other source or kind of funds to any person or entity, including foreign entity, with the understanding that, so you are a shareholder, you have invested fund in a company, and company has given these funds to other party with the understanding that the intermediary shall directly or indirectly lend or invest in other person or entities identified in any manner whatsoever by or on behalf of the company. And this party, this is I will call intermediary, to whom the loan or advance is given, they will invest in another company. They will invest in another company. So what is happening? Thakur, what is happening? Your money is being routed through an intermediary to another company. Your money, this is Thakur. Your money, Thakur's money, is routed through intermediary to another company. Then you have to give the disclosure. Or this company provides any guarantee, security, or the like to or on behalf of ultimately beneficiary, then the company will have to disclose. So the purpose is to check whether the money is transferred to another entity through an intermediary, not directly, but maybe through intermediary. The company will have to disclose the date and amount of fund advance. On what date, what amount the fund was given as loan or advance or investment, with complete details of each intermediary. So you have to give details of all such intermediaries. The purpose is that we want to keep a check on the flow of money. You have to disclose the date and amount of funds further advanced or loaned or invested by such intermediary to other intermediaries or ultimately beneficial intermediary with the complete detail. So suppose this is one investor. It has invested in X Limited. X Limited has given loan to Y Limited. Y Limited has given loan to Z Limited. So money is flowing through Y Limited to Z Limited. X Limited will not only disclose when it had given loan to Y, it will also disclose when Y Limited had given loan to Z, and the date and amount of guarantee, security, or the like provided to or on behalf of the ultimate beneficiaries. So these are the disclosure requirement. Then disclosure declaration that relevant provision of FEMA Companies Act have been complied with for such transaction and the transactions are not violative of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So when you are flowing money from one country to another, FEMA applies. When money is transferred from one place to another, Prevention of Money Laundering Act will also apply. In that case, you have to ensure that FEMA and PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, are complied with and give the disclosure. Some amendments have been made in Part 2 P&L account. So we are discussing amendment made in Schedule 3 in year 2021. Now in Schedule 3, we will write revenue from operation, other income and total income. Earlier, old presentation was revenue. The new presentation is the total of these two items is called income. So just the nomenclature has changed. From total revenue, you have to write total income. Nothing great about it, but the students have to be careful. Then additional disclosure under notes. In the notes to account, you have to give disclosure about grant or donation received. About grant or donation received if it is a Section 8 company. Section 8 company will give disclosure about grant received or donation received. Then you have to disclose. What you have to disclose? Undisclosed income. You have to disclose, the entity will have to disclose undisclosed income, concealed income, hidden income. For income tax purpose, companies do not reveal full income. They do not disclose full income. And then the income tax officer will catch you and put interest on you, penalty on you, fine on you. Okay. So if company shall give details of any transaction not recorded in the books of account that has been surrendered or disclosed as income during the year in the income tax assessment under Income Tax Act. What will be the impact of this disclosure? Company's goodwill will be affected. Company's goodwill will be affected. Shareholder will not trust the financial statement. Shareholder will ask the management, how could you hide the information? How could you hide the information? It will affect goodwill, reputation of the company. Shareholder will not like such company which hide information. Disclosure will not be given if there is a immunity for disclosure under any scheme. So if there is a scheme under which company is not required to give disclosure, then enjoy, then dance. Disclosure is not required. If any immunity, that means you are given exception in certain scheme, like government comes out with voluntary disclosure schemes from time to time. Government comes out with voluntary scheme from time to time. Under that, there is a condition that you are not required to give disclosure in the financial statement. Then you will not be required. And the last is, and also state whether the previously unrecorded income and the related assets have been properly recorded in the books of account during the year. So have you recorded such undisclosed income in the current year? Please make a disclosure about it. Next is disclosure about CSR. What is CSR? So in amendment to Schedule 3, there is a long list of disclosure requirement. with respect to CSR activities. So where the company is covered under section 135, the following disclosures relating to CSR activity will be given. So student will have to remember this. The question in the exam can be, what are, please note down, what are disclosure requirement under schedule 3 with respect to CSR activity. What are the disclosure requirement under schedule 3 with respect to CSR activity? So under schedule 3 you have to disclose notes to account, you have to disclose amount that was required to be spent during the year and amount of expenditure actually incurred. Suppose you are required to spend 100 lakhs, you have spent only 80 lakh, so 20 lakh is shortfall. Okay. Any previous year shortfall also. Total of previous year shortfall. Then you have to disclose the reason for shortfall. Disclose the reason for shortfall. Why there is a shortfall? Company will have to give explanation in the note that why they could not spend the minimum amount required to be spent under CSR laws. Nature of CSR activity. Where have you spent money? So you will say we have spent on education, health, okay, environment, girl education, etc. So this is the disclosure you will have to give, and then you have to give details of related party transaction. Details of related party transaction means if there is a transaction with a related party, for example, distribution to a trust controlled by the company in relation to CSR expenditure, that disclosure you have to give. So if company A Limited has given donation to a trust which is controlled by company A, this trust is a related party. RP means related party, and therefore you will have to give disclosure about this transaction. And last point is where a provision is made with respect to liability incurred by entering into a contractual obligation, the movement in the provision during the year should be shown separately. So this is about provision with respect to liability incurred by entering into a contractual obligation. So any provision made, movement will be disclosed. Movement means opening balance plus addition minus deduction equal to closing balance. So these are the disclosures to be given with respect to CSR activity. And the last point is the companies will have to give details of cryptocurrency or virtual currency. Company will have to give disclosure of cryptocurrency or virtual currency. Do you know any virtual currency or cryptocurrency? Please reply. I want to check your general knowledge. Do you know the name of any cryptocurrency? Is it right? Related parties are covered by Companies Act also, AS 18 also. You are right. Schedule 7 gives you a list of CSR activity. You are right. You are trying to impose your knowledge upon me. One Mr. Govind is trying to force his knowledge on me. Schedule 7 is CSR. AS 18 is related party. One person is saying Bitcoin. This is the logo of Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin is unregulated in India. Unregulated. Right now, these Bitcoin or such other cryptocurrencies are unregulated. That means there is no specific law dealing with that. If companies are dealing in cryptocurrency or virtual currency, on the right side of the screen, you will see some name. Bitcoin is very popular. Then there is Ripple, Litecoin, BitShare, Stratis, Dogecoin, Zcash, Ethereum, Monero, IOTA, Icon, Name, Binance, Steam, Waves, Arc, Neo, BitConnect, Dash, Bytecoin. So these are some name of cryptocurrency. If you want, you can trade in cryptocurrency. There are some platforms available, but I will not tell you. That is your choice. You take the risk. Cryptocurrencies are electronic currency. There is no government which issues them. There is no central bank which issues them. It is based on blockchain technology, and nowadays there is a fad for cryptocurrency. People are trying to become wealthier by investing in cryptocurrency because values are increasing. So company may also do it. So what this Schedule 3 amendment says, that where the company has traded or company has invested in cryptocurrency, either you are trading in cryptocurrency or you are investing in cryptocurrency during the financial year, then these companies will have to make the following disclosures: profit or loss on transaction, how much profit or loss you have made on cryptocurrency transaction. Then if you are holding any amount of cryptocurrency on balance sheet date, that you need to disclose. Profit you have to disclose, amount of cryptocurrency, and then in case if the company has deposits or advance from any person for the purpose of trading or investing in cryptocurrency, company has taken deposit, company has taken advance for the purpose of cryptocurrency investment, that disclosure will have to be given. This is something very interesting because right now the cryptocurrency in India is an unregulated digital currency. Sooner or later government will come out with law on cryptocurrency. So therefore, if any company is dealing in, trading in, investing in cryptocurrency, then they have to give profit, loss, amount held, and how much advance or deposit they have received from other for dealing in cryptocurrency. Okay, so this was about amendment in Schedule 3. This amendment in Schedule 3 will become applicable for your exam. Most of these amendments are with respect to disclosure requirement. Most of these amendments will come in the notes to account. So while solving the numerical question, they may not be required much, but while answering the theory question in the exam, these may be required. For example, the institute can ask you disclosure requirement relating to cryptocurrency, disclosure requirement relating to CSR expenditure, disclosure requirement relating to amount borrowed and securities premium sorry, which are invested through intermediaries in other companies. So this way, this will be relevant for solving the question. These are recent amendments, so I'm not sure whether they are included in the study material or not. Anyway, this is professional exam and the student has to be updated with any amendment, whether covered in study module or not.
The study module of the institute is just a basic material that gives you basic guidance as to what you have to study, but you have to study all amendments, all recent exam question, varieties of question, because 80 to 90% question asked in the exam will not be from your study module. It will be a new problem. It may be based on new amendment. So therefore, I request you that you do these amendments. It won't take more than 10-20 minutes and you are updated. If they ask you, you will be happy. If they don't ask you, don't worry. Your knowledge has enhanced. Okay. So thank you very much for watching this video on amendment in schedule 3.